Hello and good morning to everyone, and welcome to the Ultima Microsoft Licensing Monthly webinar, where I will be looking at updates from Microsoft Inspire 2023, which mainly includes Copilot updates and all other recent news. My name is Ian Gerard. I'm one of the Microsoft licensing specialists here at Ultima, and I have been here for around 12 years now. So my main role is to try and interpret all of the Microsoft licensing and product changes and news, certainly from a commercial and a licensing perspective, and look ahead to the upcoming changes or recent changes and how they may or may not affect your organization. Depending on obviously the size and the industry that you're in. A lot of the times your existing licensing, your existing product will affect what you can or can't do. So there's certainly an acknowledgement that your own individual circumstance may be different, but this webinar will cover off those updates and get you to start to ask those questions. And of course, should you need to have any follow-up questions or anything is unclear, you can see my contact details there on the screen, or feel free to contact your Ultima account manager or your own licensing specialist. As always with these webinars, there will be time for you to ask questions, and please do just pop the questions down as they come up, and I'll have a look at them towards the end of the webinar. Hopefully I can cover them off. If not, I will probably just ignore them. The agenda today, as I covered off, is going to really kind of start and center around those Copilot updates. And we'll look a little bit regarding one question we kind of asked a lot in regards to what's the difference between Teams Premium and Copilot. Some other kind of key areas, as well as those updates from Microsoft Inspire that I'll be peppering throughout the webinar. We'll kind of cover off the Windows Server and SQL extended support with some key dates and really what your options are as an organization. And then we'll look ahead to some of the pricing changes coming up the next couple of months, and then just returning to those updates coming from Microsoft Inspire. And like I say, at the end, there's going to be an opportunity for you to ask questions. So please do. You will be given a copy of these slides with all relevant information that I touch upon as well. So we'll start obviously with Microsoft Copilot. Constant updates coming out of Microsoft still, and everything's we're getting into more naming conventions, and pricing has been released, all of which I'll be coming on to later. But I do think it's a good opportunity to kind of just take a breath and understand when Microsoft talk about Copilot, that's actually now starting to break out into lots of different areas, certainly some of which are already available, such as GitHub Copilot and Bing Chat Enterprise. Is available as well. And again, that was one of the updates, one of the main updates from Microsoft Inspire 2023. We see Sales Copilot there as well. So we have all of these different kind of models and available capabilities to you. For example, Bing Chat Enterprise, one of the ones which I mentioned from Inspire 2023, is going to be available, kind of included free for customers within their Microsoft 365 E3 or E5 license. You will be able to buy it as a standalone. You can buy it as a standalone around the £4.50 per user per month cost. And again, this is where you can, it gives you the opportunity as an enterprise to ask those questions with privacy. With Bing Chat Enterprise, that commercial data is protected, so it's not kind of shared with Microsoft. It's not used to train any of their AI models. So, it's really a way for you to access securely from your own Microsoft 365 ecosystem, kind of asking those questions, getting those relevant answers, but obviously not protecting any of that information. They're protecting that information and not sharing it. Similarly with, Sales Copilot, and I will kind of come on to some of the privacy concerns and updates there. This, Sales Copilot at the bottom, there is a new app made available that Microsoft announced recently, where you're embedding that Copilot functionality, as well as CRM data. So whether you use Dynamics or Salesforce or kind of any other platform, the idea being that Sales Copilot would then integrate with kind of PowerPoint and provide these tips, provides you with interesting areas regarding the data for you to potentially focus on, for your organization to focus on. But, obviously then we've got things like, Windows Copilot, as well as many others. And I want to focus really on Microsoft 365 Copilot, where the majority of the conversation and updates are coming from. And obviously with Microsoft 365 Copilot, that's where we're talking about Outlook, Teams, Excel, Word, and all of those products. So we can start to understand, we're starting to build that understanding of those real world examples. For example, with Outlook, with the email, the idea being that it kind of completes that first draft. It allows you to potentially write an email and get that checked off, making sure, not just checking for spelling errors, but also that the cadence and it's coming off as a professionally written email. When you're looking at things such as Word, the idea being that you can actually get them to do that first draft, and you can kind of direct it towards a particular data set or spreadsheet. And that comes on to, Excel when we look for more of that insight. So you can literally say, please analyze the data and summarize these key trends for me. So we're really starting to see some really strong use cases, again, for potentially those within the organization who are maybe not as savvy and need that step up, need that first draft, need that helping hand, that initial piece. Certainly with things like PowerPoint, most people will say they just don't necessarily understand or can do great PowerPoint presentations. So again, it just allows you to be more productive by getting that first draft done in a secure and private way as well, knowing that all your data, when you are asking it to go and summarize or provide updates, it is something that you're able to do securely within your own organization. And essentially that's what a lot of the confirmation coming through from Microsoft, and certainly all the conversations we're having, moving away from licensing a little bit more now as we look at the kind of the privacy, the data storage, compliance and security angle, with Microsoft holding up the privacy of these, their new AI tool in the forefront of their conversations. Really, they've invested over £10 billion within OpenAI. So we know that it's out for public testing at the moment, but it is really crucial to understand that Microsoft 365 Copilot would automatically inherit all of those security and compliance guidelines that you've got in place within your environment, within your 365 ecosystem. So it also adheres to the different geographies. If you've got the office in the over in Germany, then you can make sure that the privacy laws are adhered to there. The fact that the Microsoft keep it, when you're making these prompts to the large language models, it's not being used to generate future content. It's all kept private, so the Microsoft don't kind of use that customer data to train those models. So if you were to, once you close down that query, all of that data, all of that interaction, all of those sources that you pointed it towards is instantly kind of forgotten externally. It's kept very private to yourself. So if you were to, ask a prompt saying, what color jumper am I wearing today, it wouldn't be able to answer that. Whereas if you were to ask the question, I'm in a blue trousers, brown shoes, and yellow jumper. Now, what kind of jumper am I wearing? It would say yellow. But then, if you close it down again, obviously, when you ask that again, it's not going to remember that information. It's kept very private to yourself, and that's very of a key importance to Microsoft. All of this compliance and security is, we mentioned it would adhere to your own policies within your 365 environment. And that actually relates down to an individual on an individual user basis. So if a user within your environment are asking prompts and they are going to be restricted to the level of data that individual is allowed to access. So again, keeping it privately secure, but also within your own environment as well, making sure that Microsoft adheres to all of those kind of compliancy concerns. Many organizations are now asking, and this is where Ultima are helping as well, as we start to look at preparing the foundations, getting yourself into a good position where you could potentially adopt Microsoft Copilot. I mentioned Bing Chat Enterprise kind of being, announced that it is going to be available for those organizations with Microsoft 365 E3 and the E5 license. So it'd be a great way to potentially start preparing your people by starting to trial and use this information. You do need to start to starting to make sure you're securing your data or setting those individual restrictions, preparing your environment, as I said, again, not wishing to overshare, providing just enough access, doing these readiness assessments, so making sure that your organization could potentially be ready for Copilot. I suppose it all does boil down to the fact that Microsoft did announce within Inspire 2023 what that price point would be. It's they said $30, so that's the US RRP price. Probably if you've got an enterprise agreement, you see that coming down to around the 22, 23 pounds per user per month mark. If you're buying it on CSP, it will be potentially a little bit higher than that. But you must have Microsoft 365 E3 or E5 license, or business standard or premium. This is going to be a prerequisite to you being able to purchase the Copilot license at $30 per user per month, which in actual fact, again, really raises an important point. I am jumping all over a little bit, but many organizations have invested in Microsoft 365 E3 and E5, maybe even more so around the E5 mark, and you want to make sure that you're getting the full value from that license. If Copilot is going to be such an expensive addition on top, it's even more important to make sure that you are getting the maximum value out of those E3 or E5 licenses currently, so the organization knows that you're getting a good value for money. So we would do that through optimization programs, assessing what those users are using and whether they are using the license that they've been assigned, whether there's some reharvesting or reallocation, even downgrading or completely removing is possible. It's something that we're doing an awful lot of, Ultima and myself doing an awful lot of work in, as we're looking to really knuckle down on who the profile of your users are, whether we can put any automation in there, in fact, to remove licenses or reallocate licenses if they're not being used correctly. Is it a training issue? Actually, somebody should be using it, but either technically or as an end user that they're struggling. So when we're talking about Copilot, and we have seen that new price of $30 per user per month, if anything, that's brought into sharper focus the fact that you need to making sure that you are losing your existing licensing, because in a Microsoft 365 E3 license, it's almost the same cost as Copilot is going to be. So you need to be making sure that you're getting a real strong return on your investment, and that's a lot of what Ultima are doing in kind of preparation to help organizations get ready from just a licensing and commercial point of view. There's plenty on here, and like I say, you will get a copy of the slides. There's plenty on here in regards to a technical perspective. You need to make sure that you're on the current channel for Microsoft Enterprise channel for 365 apps. Unblocking WebSockets, you need to make sure that you've got a hybrid AAD, and as you can see, I won't run through all of these, but you need to be using the new Outlook for Windows. You may have seen some other updates from Windows from Inspire, which I'll come on to in regards to 365 frontline workers. But for Outlook, you need to be on the latest Outlook for Windows. There's an awful lot of data sources that are going to be indexed. So tenants with the richest data in Microsoft will get the best results, and certainly that's something which, how Ultima can help. We're doing these readiness assessments, we're doing these webinars, we're doing these upcoming events and publications, to making sure that we're really kind of driving that conversation as we're kind of getting more information as it comes, both from a technical, commercial, licensing and prepare readiness perspective as well. Technical preparation, which our pre-sales teams are all over, really, getting on top of that AI-ready platform transition potentially. When it comes to funding, This is going to be, we don't know when the exact release date is. We know that it is in private preview. It's up to about 600 organizations in the US. After the private preview phase does become a public preview, before then we'll start to see general availability. Once Microsoft announced general availability, they'll kind of confirm that UK price point. But like I say, that $30 per user per month over in the US is going to be RRP. So it's going to be, around the £25 mark, give or take. But Microsoft will obviously have this as a key strategic product for them. I'll be very surprised if it's not available for the end of this year, and as they drive to their half year, and therefore there will be funding. Whether that's pounds and pence off the actual cost of a license, or whether it's getting what I mentioned, making sure that you're adopting all of those additional features which you might not be using within that prerequisite license, which is the M365 and E5 license. So we would help with that whole license management piece, making sure you're highly optimized and really making sure that you're getting the best from that experience. Yeah, I mean, more and more things do start coming out about Copilot, so we'll absolutely keep you fully updated. So watch out with upcoming webinars, publications, and newsletters. A lot of questions that get asked is, this is great. We know that there's going to be Copilot in Teams, but what's the difference between Copilot and Teams Premium? It is something, again, Teams Premium is an additional license, kind of additional add-on license, which is kind of adding a managed service around the Teams experience. And Teams Premium basically then would, you join a meeting, what it would do, it would kind of summarize those key points. It would allow you to quickly navigate. It would automatically kind of highlight this is the subject that was discussing. It would be, regardless of the user, at what point you join, everyone kind of gets that same experience. They get the points of interest that are raised within the Teams call so far. So you're really kind of getting a good summarization there. Copilot in Teams is slightly different. So that's where you're actually providing the prompts yourself. You're asking the large language models within Copilot for Teams to give you a specific answer to a particular question that you have. So again, it kind of takes a bit more of a proactive by saying, well, actually, it's not only a summarization, but these are how this is the summarization. This is actually a decision reached, and this is how that decision was reached. You can actually then go and bring in other data sources outside of Teams as well. So you can kind of get a real better insight into why decisions were made. So you're not only getting the summarization, you're actually, Copilot is proactively suggesting why these decisions were made, providing insights into why those decisions were made. Just moving on to another key area, we were talking about Microsoft Inspire 2023 and Copilot, and they're announcing things around Azure, these fantastic migration tools, and Azure Lighthouse being this single control panel, and Copilot in Sales, Bing and Copilot in Bing, Enterprise being released, all these wonderful things. But again, lots and lots of organizations are asking regarding Windows Server and SQL 2012 and extended support. I think it's always good to start off with I'm missing my date. There we go. What the dates are. So look, you can read, but it's in 2022, January last year, that's when 2008 extended security updates ended, and it also when SQL 2012 extended support began. So then when we got to January in this year, that's when the extended support for Windows Server 2008 came to an end. When we get to October of this year, that is the start of support for Windows Server 2012 and 2012 R2. So that would be year one of extended support for Windows Server 2012. Obviously, if we're tracking this, don't forget we are now in year two for SQL 2012. SQL 2012 year 2 was actually from July. Another key date is January of next year, where the Windows Server 2008 R2 extended security updates on Azure come to an end. So if you're buying it as a volume license 2008, that kind of ended in January of this year. If you actually just moved those 2008 servers to Azure, you would have got the free updates, but that actually comes towards an end in 2024, January 2024. So you absolutely need to move off 2008. But yeah, key date October coming up for Windows Server 2012 and extended support year 1. So that kind of brings us on to, well, what are the options for extended support? And, you know, option number 1, absolutely upgrade that server. Even better, migrate that server to Azure and always stay up to date with the newest version. You could say, you could call that, or as Microsoft would like to call that, modernizing your environment. Secondly, again, if only if it was that simple, just take those Windows Server 2012, those SQL Server 2012 servers and migrate them, migrate them to Azure. You can continue to run this version 2012, but you will not be charged any additional extended support charges for that. So only available in Azure. You can get that extended support for free. Microsoft have recently announced something called Azure Arc. So again, you are then able to maintain those 2012 servers on premise. You don't have to migrate them to Azure, and then through your Azure environment, you can effectively buy, rather than having to buy, you know, annual support, you can actually buy Azure Arc. You can kind of buy extended support for your on-premise servers delivered via Azure on a monthly basis, like a monthly subscription, which just kind of goes onto your Azure commitment. And then finally, certainly the one which is most common is, and the most expensive by far, is purchase the annual extended support. So again, there is eligibility here. You need to make sure you only available to customers with enterprise agreements and with active software assurance on their existing Windows Server 2012 servers. So you then buy the extended support. So from October, you buy year 1 for Windows Server 2012. Obviously, if you're still on SQL 2012, you would have bought year 1 back in July 2022, and you would have just renewed. You would have just bought year 2 in 2023. Actually, the cost of the extended support does increase each year by approximately 25%. So, and ending after 3 years, and you need to maintain the active software assurance. But often for many organizations who are still having to maintain those 2012 servers, that's one of the only options remaining. It's good that Azure Arc is available now. So certainly a conversation if you're thinking, well, I've got 2012 servers, I absolutely can't migrate away from them at the moment for this reason or other, but I don't have an enterprise agreement. What am I going to do? And the answer to that is, if you can't migrate them to Azure, then Azure Arc might be the answer for you. Microsoft have announced there are going to be some pricing changes for on-premise products in September. Well, this is what they've said. So we are now in August, so we would ordinarily have full visibility of what those price increases are, and actually we have checked and they are not on there. So however, Microsoft have made a clear statement previously. We've been expecting these pricing changes to come in for the on-premise products in September 2023. We were expecting around the 4 to 5% mark for Windows Server, and for SQL certainly, Visio on-premise, Project on-premise. And actually we haven't actually seen them. We've been checking the price lists and actually we haven't seen them, but absolutely Microsoft don't generally change their mind around this type of stuff. So whether they're just delaying the announcement or maybe pushing it out to October, we don't know, but please expect to see some pricing changes. So if you do have some, speak to me, speak to your licensing consultant, speak to your Ultimate account manager. Just make sure that you've not got a large on-premise requirement for licensing that you're putting off, because increases are due, even if they've not actually been announced, which we thought they would have been by now and would have normally been by now. I do keep mentioning the Teams room licensing policy, whereas previously there was an opportunity to license rooms and devices with user licenses, and Microsoft are absolutely not permitting that, clamping down on that action. They were going to be kind of enforcing this from the 1st of July. They have moved that out until the 30th of September 2023. So if you are an organization with a large number of Teams rooms, or you're using user licenses to cover those Teams rooms, or you're looking at Teams Premium even, or you're not sure which one you need and you just want to get it all ratified, then please speak to us and we can help. Other kind of Microsoft news, and I've not even mentioned some of their newer products in regards to Microsoft Fabric, which is a software as a service multi-cloud data lake. Pretty cool. The changes, just some name changes. Microsoft Power Apps, it's going to be Power Apps Premium. I'm sure you've seen that Azure Active Directory Premium is becoming Microsoft Entra ID from the 1st of October 2023. They're already kind of talking about Entra now. If you are speaking to Microsoft and even looking at some of their materials, there's no changes, to costs or to the way it's licensed. So there's nothing for you guys, for customers to do, but note that's a name change. I mentioned Windows 365 Frontline is now generally available. So again, this is the frontline worker. We've seen that with other Microsoft suites as well. So it's designed for the part-time, shift part-time workers, those with limited time in front of a PC. And it is generally available. Plans start from around £38 per license, but you'll notice it's per 3 users per month. So actually, this is Microsoft getting into concurrent licensing. So it's and anyone, by the way, you don't have to be working in a warehouse. It can just be a contractual worker. Anyone who just has to spend potentially a limited amount of time accessing a cloud PC, this kind of Windows 365 frontline worker basically allows them to log in and log out of that cloud PC. One license would cover 3 users, so you basically need to license for the most number of people at any given moment, at any given time. So yeah, and each license kind of covers 3 users at any given time. So that kind of way of getting into concurrent licensing. I mean, within the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, you don't even need to assign those licenses to specific users. It's actually only in the Products tab, so you don't need to track it in that way. So again, yeah, pretty cool if you do have those. You would question how cool licensing could be. It's a pretty good opportunity for those users to be able to log in and log out of a cloud PC, make them more productive. They don't have to kind of wander over and go to that shared PC, or even kind of pop back to the office if they need to do something. That you can kind of do that remotely, keep them nice and productive without having too much of a burden of a licensing, or even having to track or assign those licenses. So it's good stuff. Please be aware around some more upcoming webinars in September. As you can see there, I've deliberately not forgotten to update it from saying the 16th of August, but please be aware these are every single month. So hopefully you can join the next one. I will say thank you very much for your time, and let me know if you have any questions. I can't see any questions, which is excellent, but if that changes, please let me know. Let your account manager know. There's my contact details. You will be sent a copy of these slides, and yeah, I'll hang around for a few more minutes, and just in case anyone does have any questions. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time, and good luck to the England women in their semi-final. Bye for now. Oh, hi, Stuart. You've got your hand raised. So let me just go to the question panel. Okay, I'm not seeing that. apologies if I've missed something. Please feel free to send me through whatever question you're trying to ask, and I have poorly not been able to find or answer. I'm literally not seeing it on there. I don't know if that's an issue on my side. Please just send me an email, contact your account manager, but we'll jump straight on it for you.